Some guys really like Batman, and they had an epiphany. So they all got to work on the next Batman movie. And now they are the heroes, and you get to follow along. They're bringing him to life every week after this song. Batman, Project Batman, Project Batman. Fuck yeah.
So I got through like the first 17 pages already.
Will you sit down? They have no idea what you're talking about.
There is, okay, the 17 pages I refer to are of the Necronomicon, which I am currently reading in order to recreate the plot of Evil Dead and subsequently, you know, pretty much just accidentally bring about the gruesome death of everyone I know. That is all.
Yeah.
And that's it for Project Batman. See you next week, everyone.
So, today I showed up unexpectedly at Sean's place and handed him and Otto some printed out versions of the rough draft of Batman Immortal because I couldn't resist finishing all my personal like pass and editing and getting this locked in version of of just like
you mean rewriting all of the dialogue that I wrote at the Waffle House?
I didn't rewrite it all.
There might have been one or two lines you missed.
Wait, no. What do you... Well,
I'm fucking with you.
Okay. I was gonna say, I left a lot of your dialogue, sure. But I haven't edited those Waffle House episodes yet because I've been so busy at this, so I can't swear to that, or I can't go to proof right away.
Yeah, but so last time on the show we ended up sitting here doing this shit for 5 hours. We did the last 2.5 hours of it in the Waffle House. I probably drank 10 cups of coffee and I didn't sleep at all that night, and I just went to work because I couldn't sleep.
Nice.
I was like, damn it, why didn't we get decaf? But then again, we needed caffeine for what we were doing, but it didn't wear off. Ever. I still haven't slept.
That was a week ago. Over a week ago. No.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
That was last Sunday.
Yes, it was.
It is Monday now. It is Monday, December 30th. It is almost New Year's Eve, and we're almost done with 2013.
But hey, we said we would have a rough draft by the end of the year.
Right, and we do.
That's why I couldn't resist today. I finished this pass, everything, how, I thought it was okay before we all got together and edited it. And then, it was out of Panera Bread, and I walked out, and, there was a Kinko's. It's not a Kinko's, but, it's a Kinko's right there. Yeah. And I just could not resist, knowing it was December 30th, not just going in there and getting these printed out.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And see, I can't wait to get the final one. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we're going to be printing out a lot more of these. We're going to go through... You guys are going to go through them individually. Hopefully, have a chance to sit down all at once and, go through it and just, see how it flows and, sitting in it, for an hour and a half and, just going through it all at once. And then we'll all get together, edit it that way, then get a finalized version for us, send that out to people. Then those readers are going to tell us what they thought about it, and then we're going to take all of those suggestions and thoughts and opinions and put that into one. We're going to take them into consideration, edit based on our whatever we want, mm-hmm. and then that will be our final version of the script. So this is no way hey, this is our script. I just was excited to print something out.
Yeah, and you still in touch with all your old writing school contacts?
No, I haven't talked to them since I left there, but I definitely.
You should yeah. Go ahead and shoot them because don't shoot them. That'll be bad. Go ahead and shoot them an email because that will be helpful. Okay. Did we get any? Let's check our Gmail. Did we get anything back from today?
No, I checked right before I came over here.
Oh,
I know, bummer, right?
Right. Though I don't think this has come up since the last time we were here. I did get in touch with Artalia, and she is still very much excited for the project. So, and she does a great job, and she says that when we do the table read, she'll come on the show with us and read for Talia.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So you don't have to be Talia.
I don't know. A terrible woman.
Well, I don't know. What you just did there was, it was pretty. Yeah, it was just
scratch that.
I think for the final script read podcast for the end of phase 1, what I'd like to do is like we can have a table read of like us reading the voices and narrating and shit. But like if we don't have voices for other people, and like we can get other people who have been on the podcast or show before to like record that and like edit those in. I'd really like to like edit together it all in one thing, sort of like a radio play with like...
That'd be fun.
And then sort of like add in some sound effects or whatever. And then we could have a bunch of different people who've already been involved. And like we wouldn't be able to record it like everybody doing it in the room all at once, but I'd be able to edit it.
Right, and I think, we'll do what we can table read wise, and anything we gotta edit in, do that in post. Just like how they do on the news.
Yeah.
They just make stuff up later.
But the reason I printed out 3 of them, the reason I don't have mine here is because Hillary saw it sitting. My wife saw it sitting on the dresser, and she was like, "Oh, there that is." I was like, "Well, I mean, it's not done or anything." She's like, "I'm reading it."
Well, I mean, she has been watching her husband slink off for several hours, at least one night a week, for almost a year now, and now there's finally concrete evidence that we're actually doing something.
Yeah. So I handed her a red pen, and she's marking up mine right now.
Oh, there you go.
And I mean, again, like, I didn't intend for that. She's marking up my pass. I knew we wanted, like, fucking our equal version to be the marked up one.
Right. But, I mean, this is where we do our passes, and then when we have our passes, that's when we start handing it out to other people.
Yeah.
And I wrote sort of an introduction for the screenplay for all the people who are going to get it as test readers.
Awesome. I actually started writing one of those today, but now I'm glad I don't have to finish it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's... I'll look at yours and see if there's anything you brought up that maybe I didn't, but, just like... And this is something that I noticed, because Franklin was fiddling around with Sean's screenplay. Franklin's been on the show before. He was a guest in 1 or 2 episodes.
He was in Character Sketches, episode B.
Okay. Yeah, he knows these things a little better than I do. I haven't actually been keeping up with listening to them since, like...
Speaking of which, I'm going to interrupt you when what you're saying about Franklin. Because we're at this stage, I restarted listening to the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Smart, yeah.
I really recommend you guys doing it just for the sake of sheer interest. Like, there are things that, like, we say and, like, total, like, oh, that needs to be in it. That would be so cool. And, like, it sounds like really like, oh my god, that's the answer in the moment. And then, like, you get to the next episode and you see how we figure out why that reason didn't work. And then as a listener, even though we're at the point of the completed script, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why we didn't do that. It's really cool to see it form, because, like, I mean, I hadn't listened since I edited them, which was by the way, the first episode was released on February 28th. So pretty much March 1st. We'll just say the beginning of March is the baseline for how long this podcast has been going out. So it's about to be only 10 months, not even a year.
But the way I was figuring on was recording. When we sat in a hotspot and talked about doing the podcast, I think it was 3 days later or something like that, we sat down and did the podcast. Right. That was like, it was like January 17th, I think we recorded it.
Okay, it was in January?
It was definitely in January.
Okay.
We had 3 or 4 episodes recorded before we even had a name for the show.
Right, on the beginning of the 3rd episode, we settle on the name and the lyrics to the theme song.
Oh, we did that in your kitchen.
It's also really, really interesting to, like, I didn't even think about how, in the beginning of this, like, this project for me, like, no matter what becomes of it, of course, I intend to finish this with you guys. I'm just saying, no matter what, for the end of till the end of time, this project has opened up my freedom to write, to not be like afraid to write. At least if I have an idea of what to do, because if you remember at the beginning, the first like maybe 5 episodes of the show, you would assign me like a paragraph or a scene, or even more than 5 episodes, and I was just so scared to like just fucking sit at a computer and delve into it. And you finally made me do it, and now I can't stop.
It's like we've had, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks ago we had 15 pages of the whole screenplay written down. Now we have 83.
Yeah,
I mean, the rough draft of the movie is 83 pages, which is incredible, if you ask me.
And I think with the amount of action in this movie,
it's gonna break 90 minutes.
Yeah. So you were right. I listened to us have that argument today.
No, that was there's no way. This is like maybe a long double episode or something.
I can see.
I remember. There's those good old 6 months standing arguments on record. And none of it feels extraneous.
No.
I mean, it's just like, there's not a single scene I would take out. Oh, so, I was talking with my stepdad, who is, like, really excited for this project, because he was incredibly surprised and incredibly pleased that we were including the Clock King in there, because he always thought the Clock King was one of Batman's most dangerous baddies there.
Yeah.
And he thought that the exchange between Clock King and Alfred was absolute fucking gold.
Which one?
Where Alfred's just like, he called me old, sir.
Oh.
I mean, he thought that was absolutely brilliant.
Well, and speaking of that line, just to bring up the last thing I wanted to say about re-listening to these old podcasts, it is incredible, like, how many scenes and how many specific lines within the first 8 episodes you came up with that are basically exactly the same. Like, it's incredible. Like, it's really mind-blowing.
It's like, because, I mean,
the entire ending, the entire climax, everything we're about to read, you laid out, like, pretty exactly within, like, episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And it was,
or 3, 4, and 5, sorry.
Yeah,
I skipped the commentary episodes.
Weren't commentary like 6 and 7?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I almost feel like we should do another commentary episode on some random thing.
Well, at the end of the project, we're going to do a commentary on our movie.
That's true.
Okay, what were you saying about Franklin before I interrupted you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's a good point.
Also, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again.
God
Otto
damn
got
it.
me a really sweet batarang for Christmas. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome, dude. Merry Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate. Wait, happy
Bat Day.
Yeah, happy Bat Day. But yeah, so when Franklin was going through, he noticed he was seeming to having, and so am I, having problem with the grammar. As in, like, things didn't seem to really read right. And I think when we do our instructions, it needs to be very well clarified. And I explained this to him, that we had this come up on an episode, is that screenplays read differently than, if you were just writing it down. Spoken English is completely different. I mean, one of the biggest, I think you said, who was it that said one of the biggest problems they see in screenplays is complete sentences. People don't talk like that.
Yeah.
I need to go through and watch the Raish episodes again, just because I need to get more of an idea of how Ubu talks.
Okay, yeah.
Because I feel like it's probably right, but he doesn't really say very much.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like, would he say that? I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, everyone else, I would be like, oh, he'd never say that, or that is definitely what he would say. But Ubu, I'm just like, infidel, that's all he says.
Right. Well, I think that's something pretty cool about the story we have, is like, he's never been fleshed out in any way whatsoever. And even though we're not fleshing him out, the fact that we have him showing anger about having to do something with the Clock King away from Raish, and then feeling fucking regret over killing Alfred, and like doing what he sees having done to Batman, like that's showing way more character in him than has ever been shown before. Like, I feel like they gave us the freedom to flesh Ubu out.
Well, see, and I feel that way even with Talia.
I love Talia.
Right? It's just she's just great. As a matter of fact, I haven't gotten the chance to actually read what you finished off on that climax. I can't wait to read that.
Okay, we're about to do that.
What was the one other thing that I wanted to... Oh, this is important. You had mentioned way, way back, and I don't know if this is still a thing, you'd have to bring it up to them, but that apparently Kevin Smith and the other guy, the Adam West guy, that he does the Adam West impression, will do a one-line cameo in any fan film. Mm-hmm. Do you know if they still do this?
I mean, they still do the Hollywood Babylon podcast live every week. I went and saw it live when I was in Los Angeles. They take emails at the beginning of the show. I've heard them do this once for another Batman fan film before. They're both huge Batman fans.
Okay, so when we start, after we get the final screenplay, go ahead and shoot him a line.
Yeah, definitely.
Hell, send him the screenplay. Send him the whole screenplay.
Yeah.
The thing is that Christopher and I were talking on the way back because he dropped me off back in Waynesboro from Williamsburg because my car had been broken down and still is.
Which, if I haven't seen you, if you still listen to the show, Chris, thanks for the Christmas gifts. I never see you, but it was nice. I love you.
But we were talking, and I had but through this conversation, we realized that if Kevin Smith does a cameo, the perfect person for him to play, in my opinion, would be the photographer that snaps the picture of Bruce and Talia. Of course, granted, he would have to be able to fake Italian, and I don't know if Kevin Smith can do that, but...
I wouldn't trust him for that. But that's interesting.
But I mean, that'd make it even harder for people to pick out, which I think is kind of neat.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he seems like, when you think about him just in that scene, he seems like a random, just throwaway, annoying character. He's like, oh yeah, flashy paparazzi, get the fuck out of here, go away. But that photograph sets such a tone for the rest of Bruce's life. That photograph is actually a really big thing.
It's like the last time he's happy.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. And so he's a one-line character who becomes incredibly important to the psychological development of Batman.
That's very interesting. And I hadn't even thought about that.
I mean, he literally says like 5 words and walks off. You don't even see him again, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And yet, because of this guy, he does. That's right. He captures the last time Bruce Wayne is ever happy.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. And Bruce doesn't even realize that he's on a date, like loving his time with Talia.
But look in that picture
until he looks at that picture.
Yeah.
Which was your touch.
I liked it.
I love that scene.
I do too. It was great.
So, but I'm thinking we get Kevin Smith in here. I think that's who he should play.
Okay. Just to be clear, like it's at like it's a live podcast. They're just reading emails live. It's at a bar where, I mean, people are supposed to be quiet, but it's very easy to get laughter in the background if anything funny is going on. We want a good take, a clean take, because I'm just going to be ripping it off the podcast that they release weekly. And Kevin's always stoned and Ralph is always drunk. That's the thing, like really stoned and really drunk. So Ralph is professional. He always does a great Adam West. He'll do great. But Kevin isn't going to do... Like, I just know for a fact he's not going to do anything that takes any effort or thought. Like, if we give him one line or two of something that is simple, he will do it. Mm-hmm. But speaking in Italian, he'll try to do it, and then you'll get some laughs in the background, and that'll be in our movie forever. Those people at the Improv's laughs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he wouldn't be willing to just send us a standalone him saying that.
No. I think that's way too far off. Ralph is the only in here. It would be like Ralph reads the emails, brings them to the show, and reads them to Kevin. Kevin doesn't care. I don't know how to send an email to Kevin. I don't have his email address. But we'll figure all that out. I don't know if I said it before, but like I hope you aren't. When you do go through and read, you really like pay attention to everything, because there are tiny things here and there that I changed. Like at one point, I had added in a dude like spying on them in the scene you did at the date in Milan, and I took that out. And like I have the line that the Grey Ghost says when he's on TV.
I read that. One thing I did have with that is that line is so short that standalone, it doesn't work without him having something to react to there. Like, he would have to, step into a room into a bunch of criminals or something like that and then say that. Otherwise, it just doesn't, it feels off to me. Just, or something like that. I scribbled it in my note.
Okay, in my head, it was like, we don't need to know any context of anything that's going on. It was like, we're just panning across and there's like a quick, like, remember me? And then, like that's it. I mean, it doesn't matter. And I was just trying to take a moment that would harken to something later. If we can think of something else better, then then cool. Well, it's whatever.
Cool.
Do we want to... We should read through the climax.
Cool. Start on page what?
It's on page... Well, I know what I consider the climax, the final act of the film to be, starts on page 65. That is where...
The last third of the movie?
Yeah. Well, actually, that starts on page... At the bottom of page 63 is when they arrive at the fortress. But we already wrote all of that. We're going to skip ahead to... Oh, we'll have to do... Because I added in all of the stuff Talia is doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where are we starting at?
We're starting at the top of page 66.
Execute, page 66. These are really nice pens, but they don't fit in that.
I know. Alright. So what's going to happen here... I'm not going to read the big opening paragraph. Or you can read that right now while I'm bringing this up if you want.
Okay. Batman lands atop the fortress, kicking a guard out of his path, and he's quickly surrounded by 20 others. He grabs a gun from the hand of a nearby guard and bashes him in the head with it, then throws it at another. Others run at Batman from behind. He takes them out by performing a spin kick and simultaneously throws a bolus at two guards raising their guns from afar. A guard charges at Batman, who ducks, grabs his leg, spins the guard around, and hurtles him into four others. Another charges Batman from behind. Batman elbows the guard in the gut, grabs him by the shoulders, and throws him over his head at the remaining guard at the door. Batman walks off past the mass of unconscious guards, takes his belt buckle off, and folds it into a buzzsaw, using it to cut through the door. Finally, Batman enters Raish's fortress.
Right.
And that brings us to...
I know, hold on. Sorry.
God damn it, Ken, you ruined everything.
I edit this. This will be fine. Alright.
Okay, just to be clear in the edit, we sat here for 25 minutes. I timed this.
Alright. So everything Otto just read, pretend that was in my voice. As the narrator.
Batman lands atop.
Okay, that's good. Also I love listening to the podcast because we're pretty amusing. Okay, exterior, Raish's fortress, base. Talia approaches the hangar, keeping in the shadows. She spots a group of shadow guards wearing gas masks, exiting a doorway, carrying crates, headed towards an airship. Once clear, Talia sneaks through the doorway, entering undetected. Interior, Raish's fortress, hall. Batman runs down a long hall. He approaches the door at the end and attempts to enter, to find it locked. Raish's fortress, guard room. Batman kicks down the locked door from the outside and steps into another room full of guards, who immediately attack. Dodging bullets, Batman jumps at a guard with a riot shield. He rips the shield out of his hands, quickly bashes him with it, and shields himself as bullets follow his path. Batman activates his stealth, then lifts the shield over his head. A beat as the guards stop firing, confused when they don't see Batman behind it. He hurls the shield at the shooters, knocking them out. Guarding the opposite door, only two guards remain. A curious guard cautiously steps forward, probing the room.
What? Is he like a ghost or something?
Angle on the guard as Batman's transparent silhouette is revealed behind him.
Not yet.
Suddenly, the gun swings straight at the guard's face, incapacitating him. Batman uncloaks himself and turns to the remaining guard at the door. Shaking nervously, the scared guard shoots frantically at Batman, continually missing as Batman approaches. He lines up the sights to Batman's head just as Batman reaches arm's length, and Batman snatches the gun out of his head, breaks it in two, and drops the pieces to the floor. A beat as the guard shakes. He beckons toward the door.
Right this way, sir.
Batman approaches the door, knocking the guard out as he passes.
Thanks.
Raish's Fortress, Lab. Talia surveys a large lab from the back. An array of supercomputers sits on a higher level, with an array of pipes and vats, some green, some white, and some orange, behind a large window. The control station sits above elaborate equipment, accessible from stairs and a walkway. She makes a break for the stairs, but is soon spotted by nearby guards, who begin shooting at her one by one. She jumps through rows of lab equipment, making her way to an alcove behind some crates. She frantically looks around for a weapon or way out, and notices one of the crates is open. She runs over to it. It's overflowing with time belts. Interior, Raish's Fortress, Gas Room. Batman sees Raish's command room through a doorway across from him. He makes a break for it, and a door slams shut on either side. He checks his surroundings and notices a camera in the ceiling as the room fills with Abaddon gas. Just before losing visibility, Batman produces a rebreather and brings it to his mouth. The screen fills with orange. Raish's Fortress, Command Room. From a monitor, Raish watches Abaddon clear from the room to reveal Batman waiting impatiently. Raish presses a nearby button and the door lifts across the room. Batman emerges from the fog inside, pocketing his rebreather.
Oh god, I can voice both these guys.
Do you want me to be Batman?
You can be Batman.
Okay.
Detective
Raish.
I suppose I shouldn't be surprised to see you here instead of Ubu. Tell me, how is new armor as a substitute for youth?
There's nothing unnatural about adapting to old age. You wouldn't know anything about that.
Isn't that all a matter of perspective? In my estimation, a Lazarus pit is the most natural thing there is.
And that's reason enough to use it to wipe out the world?
Not the world. The world as we know it.
And what gives you the right to decide who stays?
I've had every right as you since the day we were born, to be the change we seek in the world.
Quoting Gandhi to justify genocide.
We all judge on our own set of scales, but your opinion of me is ultimately immaterial. You're hardly the first to stand against me.
But I'll be the first to stop you.
You're the latest of 17 challenges to believe so, although only a choice few resembled actual challenges, Jonah Hex and yourself included.
Flattered I have such a reputation.
Don't be. Unfortunately, you lack the strength required to commit to your cause. Your refusal to take a life is a weakness shared with only the one of the others. The very first.
Appropriate then that I'll succeed as your last. Who was he trying to save? Oh, shit. That's weird. Now I see how it was weird to go between Batman and Raish. Okay. Raish crosses to a mantle and gazes at a familiar staff on display as we enter flashback mode.
Just as you, he believed he was serving the best of mankind.
Interior, Alchemist's cabin, night. The alchemist works intensely at his workbench. Raish's voiceover.
Decades after the historic rise of the Black Death, it continued to thrive as it spread to claim lives across Europe, moving into Asia. I then heard tale of an alchemist who synthesized a cure, bringing hope to thousands. This is when I began to contemplate my purpose in the world I saw around me.
Exterior, Alchemist's cabin, day. The alchemist helps a man fill cases of medicine. They quickly pack it into a wagon and cover it. They shake hands and the man leaves, controlling the wagon, as Raish voiceovers.
I had perceived the plague to be the beginning of something greater, the dawn of a new age. I began to view it as an equalizer of sorts.
Exterior, country road. Assassins ambush and set fire to the wagon, killing the man.
So I intervened.
Interior, Alchemist's cabin, night. Assassins enter the cabin, quick to fall to the alchemist, while Raish voices over.
When my influence couldn't enact the change I desired, I accepted responsibility of personally disrupting the source.
And still at Alchemist's cabin, it's just later. Raish enters the cabin as we recall their opening battle.
He was a great warrior, far wiser than myself. That night should have been my last, and it would have if he hadn't displayed tragic weakness, masked as a virtue called forgiveness. I repaid him by offering my opposing perspective.
Raish's fortress. Command room. Present. Raish continues to survey the alchemist's staff like a trophy.
I fought that night at full force with my blade. He displayed extreme discipline, faring his own with a staff. Not a sword, an army, or a mechanical suit. This staff. But when this great warrior was faced with the defining moment of choice, of finally showing what he ultimately believed in, he displayed his real identity and allowed millions to die, as I proved to be the true believer. The universe followed course, reinforcing my purpose by revealing my path had always been leading me there.
How so? Intercut with a flash of Raish at the alchemist's workbench, post-decapitation. He's just about to dump the enzyme, but notices a formula scrabbled on a piece of paper.
I had faith that with enough time I'd amass the knowledge required to construct the weapon I always envisioned. The alchemist's potion. My lifeblood. The reason I'm here. Lazarus. It took years to perfect, and now there's more than enough to ever stop it. My Abaddon enzyme will cure the disease of humanity in its current incarnation, seeing through to the rebirth of mankind, and secure an ideal body of power, ensuring a newer, true form of equality. Fortunately for me, no matter how able-bodied or technically advanced you may become, your spirit remains too weak to do what is necessary to redirect our current course to the future you desire, leaving me all but invincible. Another transcendent warrior, falling for nothing. Tragic.
No more words, Raish. I don't have to kill you to make you pay for this insanity.
Such a fool.
Raish smirks as they each step forward, and the battle begins. Batman immediately punches Raish across the room into a wall. Raish stands, shrugging this off, and approaches Batman.
You recall our last encounter, Detective? You may have temporarily interrupted my plans that night, but you couldn't stop me from generating enough power from your friend to regain the strength I needed to be here today.
So all of this is Superman's fault.
I'll remember to thank him when I'm finished and he rules at my side. Without him, I'd lack the strength to soak in the almighty Lazarus.
Or live to talk about it.
Or do this.
Raish punches Batman much harder than he was punched, sending Batman across the room, crashing through several pillars. Back in the lab, Shadow Guards continue firing at the boxes Talia hid behind. A leader signals them to stop as he moves forward to inspect. And she isn't there. He frantically points his rifle around. When he doesn't find her, he turns to face his guards. They are all trapped, frozen in place, bound by time belts.
Oh, shit.
Back in the command room, Batman picks himself up and charges Raish at full force. Raish proves to have an edge in power, but Batman moves quickly, rapidly delivering blows to Raish's face and gut. Batman backs Raish into a wall and throws him against it. Raish scrambles to hit Batman from the hold, but can't. He stops struggling for a moment, looks around. Pull back to reveal the alchemist's staff on the mantle next to them. Sorry, I'm just editing that line. Raish grabs it and smacks Batman in the skull. Batman drops Raish. Batman takes a few blows from the staff when, all in one motion, Batman catches it between the spikes on his arm, rips it away from Raish, and knocks Raish in the side of the face, knocking him aside. Raish picks himself up to find a sword mounted in front of him. Batman swings again with the staff as Raish spins around, countering with the sword. Initiate honorable duel. A few moves into the dance, Raish slices Batman across the cheek. Batman knocks the sword out of his hands. It flies into the Lazarus pit as a drop of blood hits the ground.
It starts, Detective. The first drop of many to...
Batman smacks Raish in the skull with the staff, showing more force than previously demonstrated. Raish hits the ground. Batman holds the staff at Raish's neck, choking him. They struggle precariously close to the Lazarus pit. It's over, Raish. Raish fights to breathe at first, then pushes through, laughing maniacally.
You're so predictable, Detective. This fight has only begun.
Raish grabs an end of the staff and smacks Batman in the face. Batman stumbles back and Raish stands up. Batman regains his footing and looks back at Raish, who spreads his arms and falls backward into the pit. Batman rushes toward him, but it's too late. He reaches the ledge, waits a beat, and takes a few steps back as smoke begins to rise. Back in the lab, the lone, unfrozen guard approaches the crate of spare time belts. He grabs one, activates it, makes adjustments, and stands by, waiting. A beat. Talia peeks her head up around the corner, and the guard spots her, throwing the time belt at her. It connects, and she fast-forwards for a moment, resuming normalcy on the walkway above him. He shoots at her, but she dives into the control booth. The guard rushes to the stairs that lead up to the walkway. Back in the command room, Batman flips the staff in his hand, waiting, and the room is engulfed in green smoke, followed by maniacal laughter. As the smoke clears, close in on the evil eyes of Ra's al Ghul. Now powered by Abaddon and totally insane, a revitalized Ra's leaps from the pit, charging Batman. Batman swings the staff, but in one motion, Ra's snatches it out of his hand, breaks it across his back, and kicks Batman across the room. Batman lands next to a large vacant antechamber. He looks up to see Ra's running at him and yanks a nearby power cable out of place, shoving it into Ra's body just in time to stun him for enough time to stand up. As he does, Ra's angrily bats Batman away with the brunt of his arm. Batman activates his wings midair, nimbly landing on his feet. He kneels, lines up with Ra's, and activates his jets. He strikes Ra's with incredible force, then lands at his feet to fight. From the ground, Ra's trips Batman, then tosses him over his shoulder into a corner. Batman attempts to jet over Ra's head, but just as he passes him, Ra's snatches Batman by the boot, slamming him hard into the ground. Ra's places his boot over Batman's face and lifts his leg to stomp when Batman activates his jets again, skidding to safety. He flips onto his feet and hurls a batarang at Ra's, who ducks away as the batarang lands, sticking into a tank in the background. Back in the lab, Talia picks herself up from the floor of the control room and looks around, attempting to analyze the multiple computer interfaces. Rushed footsteps grow closer as she runs frantically to each station, unsure of what action to take. The guard reaches the doorway. Talia stands still, backed against the massive hardware. He steadies his aim at her.
Stop! You wouldn't risk hitting this equipment.
Neither of them move. A beat. Talia paces in front of the computer. His gun follows her.
My father has gone insane. He just ordered his own plane to be gunned down. He has no alliance with anyone but himself. He's a decision away from ordering your own death.
No reaction. Classic standoff. Then, the guard produces a time belt and lobs it at Talia. She quickly counters and sends it rocketing back toward him. He begins to fire just as the belt binds to him, and slow motion suddenly takes him over. Talia leaps out of the line of fire to another wall of monitors. In front of her is a lever. She notices the label reading chamber pressure and makes a quick decision, pulling it straight down with full force. The multicolored chambers on display behind Talia all burst in succession, and she spins around just in time to see a wave of Abaddon engulf the control booth. Back in the command room, Batman and Ra's run at one another. Batman produces a bolo. Is it bolus or bolo? You said bolo in the podcast I was listening to recently.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to say bolus because that's how it's spelled.
Okay.
Batman produces a bolus and tosses it at Ra's. Only meters away, Ra's catches it midair and beats Batman in the face, using the bolus like a flail. After a few hits, Batman falls and spits out blood. Batman quickly produces his double-bladed short sword and slashes the bolus as Ra's swings it down, severing the line. Raish drops the remains and counters Batman's swipes. Batman fights quickly, Batman fights quickly, his breathing audibly labored.
Kenn reads quickly, his breathing audibly labored.
That's great. Raish blocks his reach and knocks him straight back into another pillar. The blade is stuck straight in the rock. Batman reaches up and attempts to pull it out, and Raish headbutts him in the gut, knocking the wind out of him. Raish holds Batman's limp body before him, right shoulder against the wall, left hand on the sword handle, and Raish begins to chuckle. Then, an eruption behind the pillar as the Lazarus pit explodes, producing a green fog. Red warning lights activate. Raish's head snaps toward the window. Orange smoke rises from below.
What is this? How is it possible?
Back in the lab, the thick orange smoke clears to a thin fog. The tanks are empty, chemicals coating the lab. In the doorway of the control booth, a time belt sits next to a gun and a pile of dust. A foot steps through. Pull up to reveal Talia, holding a familiar vial, now empty.
Thanks, Alfred.
Back in the command room, Raish holds Batman against the pillar, furious.
Your fight ends now.
Raish pushes Batman's left arm back against the pillar as we hear two distinct snaps. Blade and bone. Batman falls. Raish picks up Batman by his newly broken arm, swings him around, and tosses him at the tanks across the room. Batman fights to get up, resembling his struggle in the bank. He gives up, limp and defeated. Raish approaches Batman, picks him up by the throat, and slams him into a wall next to a tank, holding the good end of the broken sword at his throat.
I say this for the final time. Goodbye, detective.
Raish pulls back the sword as far as he can when... Bang! A gunshot. Raish screams in pain and the sword flies from his hand. On the opposite side of the room, we pan over to Talia, her pistol pointed at her father, smoking, her eyes nervous and distraught. Raish's head snaps toward his daughter, his eyes furious, his jaw dropped in awe.
Talia? How is this? You can't.
Raish stammers for a moment, followed by a beat of silence as he puts it all together. Suddenly, he erupts in a vengeful scream. With his newly free hand, he swiftly reaches to his hip and points his handgun straight at his daughter. The shot hits Talia in the shoulder, and she falls as Raish continues shooting. Batman weakly looks up to see his batarang protruding from the Abaddon tank, a subtle stream of orange dripping below it. Using the last bit of strength he has, Batman reaches up and swings the batarang at Raish as he removes it, barely scathing Raish's cheek, mirroring the cut Raish left on Batman. Refocused, Raish turns back at Batman, dropping him from his hold, amused. He chuckles as he wipes the small amount of blood from his face. He lowers his hand, examines it, and his smile fades at the sight of red blood and orange. Raish's eyes suddenly widen, and he looks up to see Batman, kneeling, panting, holding a batarang dripping with poison.
No.
Raish falls to his knees. His aging is more gradual than previous Abaddon victims. After a moment of processing what is happening, he looks up to Batman, and his expression transforms from fear to genuine pleasure.
I was wrong about you, detective. You do have the strength to kill.
I haven't killed you, Raish. The Lazarus that's been working forever to keep you alive is warring against the Abaddon enzyme you've programmed to kill immediately, permanently neutralizing your immortality. You're not dying. You're probably just reverting back to your natural state, whatever age you should be at by now. It's true I made a vow to never take a life, but old age hasn't done the same. Raish is older than he was when Batman started speaking.
It seems you've found a loophole, detective.
Raish laughs weakly. Batman looks on at Raish with complete hatred, shakes his head, and turns around. Halfway across the room, He approaches Talia, who favors her shoulder. She places her free hand on Batman.
Are you okay?
The suit will hold me together for now. Batman turns her around, limping as they head to the exit.
Talia!
Talia stops in her tracks, fighting her will for a moment, but turns around. Ra's reaches out towards her, cowered over on his knees. Tearing up, she turns to Batman.
I can't just do nothing. I have to help him. I owe him that.
You don't owe him anything. He's betrayed you time and time again. You haven't done nothing, Talia. You just saved the world from a genocidal maniac. Talia, torn, looks back and forth from her father to Batman.
But he's my father. What if it were your father? What would you do? Could you just walk away from him?
Batman takes a step back, his brow furrowed with rage. How dare you compare my father to that madman? Talia begins to sob. She looks over at her father, then back again at Batman, before ultimately breaking down in tears. Fine. Go tend to him, Miss Ghul. Batman turns to leave, slowly limping away. A beat passes as Talia sadly watches him leave, before jumping up and rushing to Ra's side.
I can save you, father. Let's get you to the Lazarus pit.
It won't work, my lovely daughter.
But it has to.
What you can do is take me to the machine next to the antechamber. There, you can transfer some of your life force to me.
Talia immediately begins dragging his debilitating body.
Yes, I'll save you, father.
Talia straps Ra's to the gurney and connects the proper equipment, bringing a device down around his skull.
Now all you have to do is hook yourself up inside the chamber.
Yes, father, yes, okay.
Talia rushes into the chamber, and the door closes behind her. She hooks herself up. Barely alive, Ra's smiles.
Computer, initiate program transfer.
Program transfer activated. Spirit transfer overriding initiated. Talia's eyes widen.
What?
She struggles with her restraints. The system begins its process. It's too late. Ra's resembles a corpse.
You're far too trusting of someone you've betrayed now for a third time. And now I assure that it never happens again. I will finally have complete control over both of us. My mind and your body. Rest assured I will gain the detective's trust and use your relationship to kill him in the night, finally redeeming your excuse for a soul. All these years and you've proven to be my only true weakness. Ironic now that, in your final moments, you act as my salvation.
Talia gives up struggling. She's heartbroken, devastated.
You are a madman. Not for your actions, but for actually believing you'll ever defeat him. One day my beloved will make you pay for your atrocities.
Ra's manages a weak, raspy chuckle.
Ah, the disrespectfulness of an unruly daughter. I won't miss it. Goodbye, Talia.
Talia closes her eyes. Intercut footage of her laughing and dancing with Bruce on their date in Milan.
Goodbye, beloved.
The flashes fade to black, and Talia is dead. Mind purge complete. Talia's eyes flash open, the life behind them filled with the evil vigor of Ra's al Ghul. The machine unlocks and the headpiece detaches. Talia rises from her chair, exiting the chamber with purpose. She looks to the gurney, just in time to see Ra's body turn to dust. Ra's, now living inside his daughter's body, rushes toward the exit.
Beloved, wait!
Far down the hall, Batman jumps up to an open window. He looks back toward Talia, scowling in disappointment. A beat later, Batman extends his wings and jets away. Talia reaches the window and pulls her pistol from her hip. She lines up the sights to shoot Batman, but he's too far away. Ra's smile forms on Talia's face, and she speaks quietly to herself in his cadence.
Until next time, then, detective.
Wayne Manor. Study. Night. A new urn sits on the mantel. The portrait of Alfred gazes down on Bruce Wayne, who sits in front of his fire, alone. He watches the news on a small TV. A thunderstorm provides a steady background to the broadcast. So one of you is going to be one, the other one's going to be the other. So
I'll be the newscaster.
Okay. But it says VO. That's me.
That's funny.
You suck. As the world comes together to rise from the ashes of the most horrible of terrorist acts, we must remember our shared humanity, finding hope and kindness wherever we can. With this in mind, Stanley Webb is embedded with the Army's 82nd Airborne and filed this report.
The footage cuts to the refuge camp in Paris as Stanley Webb, 50s, addresses the surrounding crowd.
Paris, Milan, Houston. Memorials to a time before what some are already calling the near apocalypse. Volunteers and armed forces from countless nations are assisting in rebuilding efforts, attempting to ensure vital services are restored to millions currently without power, water, fuel, food, or communications. One such group pledging their aid is the Society of Shadows, an organization whose founder was the terrorist leader responsible for these unprecedented attacks on mankind. Miss Talia Al Ghul is the current head of the SOS and joins us here at the Champ de Mars refuge compound.
Talia enters frame, looking tired and disheveled.
Thank you. I wish to offer my life to assisting in the rebuilding of the regions targeted by my renegade father.
Webb attempts to ask a question, but Talia continues.
I know the horrors my father has wrought this world, and I will live the rest of my days with the weight of his actions on me. But consider what the inventor of dynamite, the WMD of its day, was the same man who founded and funded the Nobel Peace Prize. Alfred Nobel will influence the direction of our society above the demented legacy of Ra's al Ghul. From this point on, we must look forward to the future as one society, and while we're thankful that the legendary Batman stepped in to assist this time, we must live on knowing that there won't always be...
Click. The TV cuts off. We close in on Bruce's face, emotionless. He stands, revealing a cane he uses for assistance. He limps toward the door, thunderclaps filling the silence. Slowly, he opens the door and exits the room. We pull back, revealing a radio on the corner of his desk. Its bulb lights up, and static breaks the silence.
All officers in the area, we have a 211 silent alarm going off the Gotham First Bank and Trust.
The knob turns, and the door slowly begins to open back up. Interior, Gotham First Bank and Trust, night. Thug 1 supervises a group of robbers, loading bags into the back of a van, backed up to the vault. Thug 1's the guy who got away in the beginning. Somebody be Thug 1 and somebody be a robber. Or no, wait, I'll be Thug 1 because, because you're going to be Batman.
Okay.
That's how easy it is when you got a full operation, boys. You can thank me later for all the fun we've been having living vigilante-free. Outrun a few cops and that's it. Piece of cake. I'll be telling Thorne how to do things in no time.
That's the last of it, boss.
And get in. I'll check the vault, then we're out of here. Thug 1 closes the van door, then points his flashlight at the vault. He approaches the vault entrance. He hears a pop. Huh? He turns around to face the van. Pop, 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 as he watches batarangs rocket into the van tires. What the... Thug 1 looks above him, frantically searching all directions. No, it can't be. The thug makes a break for the exit, but quickly falls on his face and shoots back into the vault. He looks down to see a grappling hook binding his feet as he's dragged into the vault. Sliding through the entrance, he points his flashlight towards the back, but sees nothing. As the wire shortens, the thug is upturned, suspended above the ground. The Batsuit deactivates its stealth, revealing Batman holding the thug up by the ankles.
Remember me?
Thug 1 screams. Angle on Batman from Thug 1's POV as Batman punches straight into the screen. Lights out. The end.
That's awesome.
There were a few things that I had, though, that were some logistical problems.
If Raish had a handgun the whole time, why didn't he use it at all during the fight?
Because it's an honorable fight.
But we discussed earlier that he doesn't do that anymore. That's something that he stopped doing specifically.
I wasn't sure about that moment. I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
Here
is my suggestion as to how to fix that scene. Talia doesn't shoot the knife out of his hand. She fires a warning shot at him. Doesn't hit anything. He throws the knife at her.
Oh, okay. That's easy. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Or maybe she shoots at his hand, hits it, but he doesn't drop it because he's fucking Lazarus all up. Because she doesn't want him to kill fucking Batman. Mm-hmm. But then again, it's her father.
But yes, and I'm thinking a warning shot, that's going to get his attention. That'll distract him pretty well.
Yeah.
From killing him.
Yeah, because she's not expecting him to just toss it at her.
The other thing, the other logistical thing, is that if he lifts Thug 1 up by the ankles, how is he going to punch him in the face?
Oh, because Batman's arms are really...
Batman is not going to be able to lift someone of human height.
Okay. Those are very logistical... That's a very logistical problem we'll fix.
Okay. Oh, and the third thing that I was going to say that's nothing to do with the screenplay as we have it now... Are we including a post-credit scene of any sort? Even just like the tiniest little thing, like the shawarma scene after the end of the Avengers?
We'll talk about that next time. I really have to go. Like, I seriously do. But how was that as a rough draft?
Dude, that was amazing.
Yeah. I
was fucking floored.
I actually love all the changes you made.
Dude,
yeah.
Dude,
like...
When she handed me these for the first time and I got home and I was flipping through them and like...
this is work.
I flipped through it just like randomly, like looking at scenes, and I'm like, dude, this has drama, action, romance, suspense, mystery, violence, fucking everything. There's everything in that, and I just think we have something cool, guys.
Yeah. No, this is something, and now now over the next couple of weeks, by the end of January, we will have the final draft of this thing.
Yeah, we will.
By the end of January. And after that, we're hitting the Texas Day Brazil in our best suits and...
ordering some steaks. Hey, real quick, all the Talia stuff in the lab.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great. There was one cut that I didn't like that if we could move a paragraph, but we'll get to that when I'm...
Okay, yeah. Just mark it up and we'll figure it out next time.
That had my jaw drop at some point. I was like, this is intense.
Alright, fun game. Both of you randomly open to a page, find a Batman line, and you each get to say that line. And we're closing it out with each of those lines. It's the first one you see. You don't get to pick.
Stop.
I knew I could count on you, Alfred. You'll be there watching me test it out before long.
Awesome.